just want to get across to these guys that I wasn't born different. I'm not different. I got a divorce in my backpack. I've got family issues in my backpack. I have innumerable fucked up relationships in my backpack. Even after learning this stuff.
Why don't you just jump in? Tell us who you are and
Sure. I will. And then I'll tell you a conversation I just had with my own group, because that seems to be what's front and center.
Right.
My name is Traver Boehm. I founded the Uncivilized Movement and wrote the book Man UNcivilized. And I work primarily, you'll understand this, or people watching will understand this. I work with men all day long, which means that primarily I speak with women who are either trying to get their man to open up to some ideas in the men's world, or are dealing with the after effect of men who probably should be in the men's world, or engaged in men's work, or engaged in any kind of inner work.
Yeah.
And the conversation I just had with about 20 guys in my own group in the Uncivilized Nation was around this quote, which came to me because of some of my own challenges. And that's what how I love to frame things with these guys is what I'm teaching you is what I had to learn a month ago.
Right.
And the quote was that ambiguity is the death of intimacy. So guys, again, let me reframe that I know this because I had a conversation in the last 6 months with a young woman who said, every time you said, I don't know, I didn't feel safe.
Yep.
And it wasn't like, are you hungry? And I'm like, nah, I don't know. It was the big stuff. Do you want to get remarried? Do you want to have kids? What are your thoughts on monogamy? Where do you see yourself living in 5 years, 2 years, a year?
Yeah.
And so I framed this whole conversation for these guys, not so much around romantic intimacy or even relational intimacy, even though that's the frame that hits most of us, but with self-intimacy.
Yeah.
Every one of those I don't knows was the octopus on my face that I was like, there's no octopus. I don't see it. Like, what octopus?
Oh yeah, that thing.
Oh, this thing. Yeah. So I was asking them this morning to dive into where are the areas where if I asked you honestly, where do you see yourself here? How do you feel about X? And you say, I don't know, but I don't know is like the little smoke screen.
Yeah.
It's I really don't want to look at that. Or I really don't want to put a stake in the ground around that, because that means choices become less, or avenues get carved out that don't leave this like, I don't know, I can just have 1 foot in, 1 foot out of my whole life.
Totally.
And so I framed it around that and framed it around for them for leadership. I'm teaching a leadership course that's coming up, and have said to guys, and again, I want to be really honest, that I say this to the guy in the mirror daily, that until you can lead yourself, you can't lead anybody else. And it doesn't mean, Robyn, that I'm saying until you have this all figured out and it's perfect and there are no more I don't knows and you're just the black belt of all black belts, that you can't engage with the world. You're allowed to, you have to navigate.
Right.
You have to navigate from a place of honesty and a place of head, heart, balls, integrity.
Love that. I love that.
So many men, especially, spend Monday through Friday here, Saturday and Sunday below the belt, and go, oh, what is this vacuous, empty area that sometimes I get feelings in that are super uncomfortable, so I bypass them real fast in one direction or the other. But what if we actually sat there and went, I think I want this. I feel like it feels right. I know I can penetrate the world with it, or I can bring it into the world. I want to bring it into my life. What if that became the lens through which we made decisions?
Right.
And what if that became the lens through which we opened conversations? And I'm brilliant, a genius at avoiding conversations because I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, right.
And I think a lot of men are in the same position of, let me go spend a week in the woods figuring this out by myself.
Yeah.
And when I get the answer, I'll use this thing. And man, has it been a realization in the past 30 years that doesn't work that well.
It doesn't.
But yet the pattern has to be practiced. It's such a practice to say, I'm going to probably fumble through this conversation, but it's not real until the words come out of my mouth. So please let me have it, with the asterisk that I'm allowed to go back and edit it perhaps.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And in order to do that, I'm going to put a little bit of a stake in the ground.
Right.
I'm going to say, okay, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. This is where I think we should go. This is how I feel about things right now, about what's working, what's not working. This is how I want to show up. And just that, I just want to show up in a place that has some knowing and some room for magic. It doesn't have like, no magic. I know this is what we're doing. I don't need your input. Although I'm like, I really love your input.
Please give it to me. Please help. Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm going to push it away when it comes, but I'll be like, thank you so much.
Totally. And just hearing you say that is literally what I hear from so many women that I work with, is just like, I just need him to step in and guide, and guide and still ask me, what do I think about it? But to start with, here's what I want, because it feels safe in my body. Like even listening to you say that, I felt a dropping in of like, cool, this feels really like, this feels like you are leading me even through the conversation. Right. This feels like you're leading me in a direction to say, here's what I want you to take from this. There was a confidence in that, but there was also a tenderness. And that's what us women are craving all the time. The time.
I hear you. The very first week we do this, I know I framed it and named it in a more abrasive way, but I'm calling it Kill the Nice Guy.
Yeah, I love it.
Because so many men, and this is, I'm in recovery of being a nice guy. Because what it felt like was ambiguity is great. Ambiguity is polite. Ambiguity is what we're asked for. And anything other than ambiguity is tyranny. And that's a lot. Like, we are a black and white group of humans.
Right.
And if this was instilled really young, of how dare you make that decision, or how dare you even lead in a relationship as a man, that's what we call misogyny. Then we look at, oh my God, the sheer terror of actually making a decision. But again, if we go back to head, heart, and balls, it's because this is where the decision was made, or it was made down below, and it wasn't made in this relationship of entirety. Right. And there's such a difference between, I want us to go here, and I think we will benefit from going here. How do you feel about coming along with me? Yes. And this is where we're going. There's no other option. I don't care about your input, which is just like slam shut.
Totally.
Contracted, not, oh, wow. And then we add in, there's an allowance on this journey to go, it wasn't the right decision.
Totally.
Fully own it. Let's shift gears and take a new path. But there's so much to male leadership that I think has been misportrayed. Because if we look, I ask guys, like, look upstream. Do you respect the leaders in your city, in your town, in your country? Or do we just see the shadow side of leadership, especially now in America, just front and center on the news every morning?
Right.
Do we see it with police departments? Do we see it with city government? Do we see it with perhaps our president? I don't care who you voted for, but if you've read a single leadership book, you may know that we could write an entire other one on how not to do it.
Yep.
Oh, there's this part is just completely missing.
Completely missing. And when I hear you talk about that too, like this centerpiece, right? The word that comes up for me is integration. And how do we fully integrate? How do we fully integrate and just kind of become one, so that you are making decisions and leading and loving from all of these integrated? And so talk to us a little bit more about, the Head, Heart, Balls leadership course. And
Sure.
And yeah, go for it.
I picked the name because I kept coming up with these like beautiful illustrative. I was like, oh, I'll use a Sanskrit term. And my designer was actually like, all you talk about is head, heart, and balls. Why don't you just name it that? I was like, she's a genius. I'll listen. And it felt like this when I talk to men. Imagine having 3 mentors and you only listen to one. Like, here's one, here's one, here's one. And what if they all got to be in the same room together? And you may go, this one got me in some trouble. This keeps me out of here. This one's gotten me in all sorts of trouble. He definitely needs two guys to be like, hey man, we're going to check and balance you. And then this third one who actually is the wise elder.
Yeah.
And the one who gives us the greatest information or the greatest guidance, but yet we listen to the least because of some old pain or some old hurt. This is where we've gotten hurt. So I'm asking these guys, how do we kill the nice guy? How do we teach you to source esteem, confidence, and reference in the world away from the feminine, away from your partner, away from your mom, away from wherever we'll just say the feminine. And it's not to say we don't take that into account, but it can't be your primary source of I'm okay in the world.
Right.
I can't be asking you all day, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? With the subtext being like, tell me you're okay so I know I'm okay.
Right.
As opposed to, I'm okay, therefore I'm okay if you're not okay in this moment.
Right.
We get to have this dialogue.
Which is what we as women need and want, is we need to be not okay and just know that you are this container holding us and going,
it's okay.
It's beautiful. It's totally fine. And I'm right. It's the and that we were talking about earlier offline. It's the and I'm okay. And I can hold you.
Yeah. And I've got you.
And I've got you.
As opposed to, you're not okay. What did I do? Stop. First of all, stop being crazy. And let's make this all about me because I'm not okay right now. As opposed to, oh, I'm okay. I got you.
Yeah.
So that's step one. Yeah. Right. And then we're going to talk about this magnificent, awful, huge word called boundaries. I just got chills because that means I have to work on my own boundaries. And how do we teach men to have healthy boundaries? Is it okay to say, actually, you know what, this doesn't feel good. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you know what, that's fine. It's okay. Let me just put a little bit of a seed in the resentment bucket that 4 months from now, when we have this big blow up, and the resentment bucket overflows, I can look back on 3 months from now where I said, you know, that didn't feel good. That's not okay with me. How do we teach men to be okay having healthy boundaries?
Yeah. And expressing them.
And expressing them, which is an interesting thing for those of us who embody a larger, stronger body, but yet this is terrifying.
Yeah.
And so that's week 2. Week 3, I'm diving into one of my favorite subjects because it was such a point of growth for me, and that's the shadow. How do we open that closet and go, man, there's sex, money, and power in there.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay, what if all I did was just acknowledge that there is a shadow there, that my pulls out of integrity are going to come from this room. If I've never looked in that room ever, then it is a country mile difference just to open the door and go, oh, wow, okay. I use women for sex because it makes me feel powerful. I have a dysfunctional relationship with finances and money one way or the other because I want to keep myself weak or I want to have power over people with my money. What is my relationship to power? And I don't want this to just be a philosophy course, right? It's a leadership course. Yeah. So these guys are actually going to have to come up with, what are you building? What is this thing? And it doesn't have to be a New York Times bestseller. It doesn't have to be 1 million people on Instagram. You know, I share a story all the time of a client I have who's building a safe world for his autistic son. Like, look at that. Woo-hoo! No Instagram profile. You do not know that you will never find this man's name. He has zero desire to be public or that big. But yet from the moment he gets up to the moment he goes to bed, he knows what he's doing. Yeah. Right. I just had a client say, I want to build a stable world for my kids. They've grown up in instability. And I hung up the phone and was like, fuck, I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah. Right. Because for him, that actually got him, he hasn't drank in 3 weeks. He hasn't done any drugs in 3 weeks.
It's beautiful.
Holy shit. What's 3 generations from now? What's the effect on them? What's the effect on his son and daughter who now get to come home and go, wow, things actually feel safe in here.
Yes.
So asking them the big question of what are you building, but then the specific of, because we're dudes and we need to do some shit.
Yep.
What are you going to do in the next 2 months? What are you going to do in the next 4 weeks? What are you going to do in the next 4 days? What are you going to do in the next 4 hours? As soon as you hang up this call, what are you going to do in the next 4 minutes? And that kind of like, that's how I feel we get momentum going. Robyn, I did so many programs where I outlined like this 5-year vision of like yachts and private jets and, you know, marrying Shakira. And then 4 days later was like, yeah, I haven't really done anything. You know, like I don't know what to do.
Right.
So I want to take it from the inner to the outer, from the macro to the micro. And then we're finishing it off with, how do you deal with rejection as a man? How do you deal with the arrows that come with leadership?
Yeah.
Right. I can spend hours a day going through my Instagram with people like, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I don't like you. You're a pompous prick, whatever it is. And that took time and skill to go, okay, someone's still got some issues with his dad. Oh, someone's hiding in his this is a fake, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then also, how do you do that in relationship? Because nothing irks me more or upsets me more as someone who has older sisters than getting screenshots from women of, hey, I just don't think we're a good match. And then I'm sure you know, and every woman listening to this, the vitriol and awfulness that comes underneath that. And that to me extends into every area. Yeah. That's not just relational. That's, hey, I don't really think we're a good match business-wise. Like, awesome. You just saved me a lot of time and energy.
Exactly.
You have a great life.
Yeah. You just opened up a new path.
Like, awesome. I'm disappointed because you're smoking hot and I don't want another divorce attorney. Right. So like, thank you. Go be amazing with someone else.
Right. Yeah.
So that's really kind of it. And I'm wrapping I'm adding in 2 bonus sessions of, I'm recording a morning meditation for these guys because I'm a huge proponent of meditation. Yes. And then bringing in, I don't know if you know Sophie Josefina. She's a sex coach in Amsterdam. I've done a number of interviews with. Guys, the bedroom's a big deal. So
yes, it is.
Here are all the things that you don't know from a woman's perspective. I get it. You know it all. I know it all. We'll just fact check Sophia as she goes. like a note or 2 as we go, but we're throwing that in there as well. And the last piece, Robyn, this is, as I said, I just got off a call with a bunch of guys. We're going to be talking to each other. We're going to be communing. There is something magical.
Magic.
When a man sits across from another man, even if it's on Zoom, and goes, yeah, I'm having some trouble at home. And that guy across from him is like, been there. And suddenly, the number 1 rule of being men gets broken, which is we don't talk about being men. Right? It's Connor Beaton from Man Talks, like rule 1 of man world. We don't talk about man world. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten groups of men together and had them say, or I've asked them, okay, raise your hand if you've ever had an issue with alcohol. You see this, it's like, okay, every hand goes up. Raise your hand if you've had an issue with drugs at all. Every hand goes up. And this is the biggie. Raise your hand if you've ever had an issue with porn. And it's like, every hand goes up.
Totally.
And then I asked them, this is the $1 million question. Raise your hand if you thought you were going to be the only guy who raised his hand. And then it's just this, hands straight up.
Right.
And
it's something
suddenly
magic.
That bubble gets burst.
Yeah.
Oh, we all have the same shit. Me too. Not excluding myself. My hand's up for all 3 of those. And guys, you see, there isn't a man who's not walking around with a challenge. We've just taught ourselves or been taught that we're the only one with it and therefore we can't talk about it. So that's the program. It's hard hitting. It's fast. It's 6 weeks. I know the male attention span. I know my attention span. I know it's COVID. I know there's a lot of shit going on. So why not use this opportunity to look inward and build outward in a short time period? I'm done with 5-year vision statements because Corona taught everybody in February that like,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you had planned for 6 months from now, but
I want to know if America's going to get through an election without burning ourselves down. So yeah, I have plans until like October 30th, and then there's just this wide open space for a couple weeks.
There we go. Yeah.
Like camping.
We go with it. But I just want to say, I want to touch on a couple things that you talked about, which is, the importance of meditation, which I work with so many men and they kind of giggle. I'm like, no, you need to add this. Like let's add this first thing in the morning, at night, however we can do this. And I always get the like, yeah, but why? Like, what is meditation really going to do? And I'm just curious, for the guys that are listening, what's kind of like your Reader's Digest version of, here's why you meditate as a man, here's why you need this in your life, your nervous system, your heart. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
They're clear. The very first product I ever created was a meditation course. And I told guys, like, I'm shooting this from a cage fighter's perspective. So we're going to meditate in rounds. I'm going to teach you different ways to do it. But here's the why. In very short time, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, you will learn to have a pause button, like on a remote control, between stimulus and response.
Yep.
Your partner says something that upsets you. Here's what happens. You fire back. Now you're arguing over the firing back, and you've missed the actual issue. Your kids come in and upset you. You fire back. Now there's upset that you're dealing with and not the actual issue. Meditation literally teaches you to go pause. Okay.
Yeah.
How do I want to handle this? And for guys, especially because we love to analyze, like, okay, is this her shit? Is this my shit? Is this our shit? Am I upset? Have I eaten? We get to the Matrix and then play. Really, tell me more about that, as opposed to now I've punched back. And so what I hear from men is, it drops me out of my head. Yeah. This is where we live, Robyn. Yeah. This is where we live in work. This is where we live in the bedroom. This is where we live in relationship. And this is like having a chainsaw. It's an amazing thing to cut down trees with. But when I'm done cutting down my trees for the day, the last thing I want in my bedroom or my life or my relationship is, which is, we're trying to use a chainsaw to make dinner. Yeah. And so this idea, I have this happen every time I bring groups of guys together and we do meditate. Like, feel yourself drop down to the point where you're actually not anxious. Where you're grounded. And grounded is this ethereal term. Sure. So let's just say the radio in your head has gone from volume 10 to volume 3. And if that can happen for 5 minutes a day, it'll change everything, because then you have conscious contact. I know what this feeling's like. I want to get back to this. If I never know what this feeling is like, how do I know what to come back to? It's just words. It's like trying to explain an orgasm to somebody verbally. Yeah. But once you've had one, you're like, oh yeah, I want to go back to that. Once I've sat in a conversation with someone and watched the hooks come and gone like I'm like Neo in the Matrix, like, oh really? Namaste, let's have this conversation. Right. That becomes such a delicious experience and feeling for men because it's so foreign. And then here's the juice. You guys want to know the magic? Watch what happens to the person sitting across from you.
I was just going to say that. Yep.
You want to be like superpower? You want to be like a little Yoda-y?
Yeah.
Like, this is not the argument you want to have. And you're just like, literally watch the physiology, especially if it's a woman sitting across from you. It's not magic. But you said, like I just felt my body relax.
Yep.
Okay, guess what? Now there's an interchange. I know we're going to go a little bit esoteric here, but now there's an interplay of energy.
We're co-regulating at this point.
We're co-creating. Like, we're playing tennis as opposed to like throwing balls behind. Like, I don't know why the game's not working.
Yeah.
It's this beautiful dance that happens.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't go off too long.
No, I love that. I love that, because men need to understand not only what's happening in their body and their mind, but it's important to understand how it impacts those around you. And I like to share is it now makes you as a man more accessible. Like, I feel like I can actually access you now. I feel like I can touch you. energetically, if you will. Like, I feel that you're actually here with me and you can hold me.
You can feel me.
Yes.
My most controversial, angry, like I've got I show you the day I posted it. Women don't leave us. Women leave us when they can't feel us.
Yep.
Mark Rose and I did an interview on it. Then I got hammered by men who were like, it's not us. Fuck them. It's this Disney idea. And anyway,
Yeah.
I stand by it 100%.
Yeah.
If you can't feel me, then we're not partners.
Right.
I might as well pull my neighbor over here and be like, cool, have a relationship with Robyn.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like a stranger experience. But when you can, and I'll tell to men, this goes both ways. I've been with women who I couldn't feel. And then we'd have this conversation and this thing would blow out. Oh, your last relationship was abusive. You have trauma in this area. So that's where the door is. If we can move oh my God, I get to experience you now. Holy shit. And this isn't esoteric, guys. You don't have to be a meditator or a black belt or a ninja to feel someone. You do it in moments when both of your guards are down. Like, think about watching a comedy with your partner and you both laugh at the same time. You feel and then you laugh later and then she laughs, or you're both, that's feeling each other.
Yeah. That's a great example.
That's meditation. Meditation, Robyn, I used to be in the fitness world. I remember getting asked as I transitioned out of it, if you could have everybody work out or meditate, which would you choose? And I just stopped. Yes, and both. I think now I would go to meditation.
Wow. Because
I'm still a fitness freak, but like, I look at the world and I don't see an absence. I do see an absence of fitness, but one of the main challenges we have is that we can't sit in our own skin for 5 minutes.
We cannot sit in discomfort. We do everything in our power to claw ourselves out of it or to, just put up that wall. So thank you for saying that. And I'm curious, who is this program not for? Who absolutely should not even sign up for this thing?
If you're looking for just tactics and strategies, this isn't the right thing. Like, there are so much go get a Tony Robbins CD.
There you go.
How to just design your life. But and this is why I say this, because how many of us have failed for lack of a to-do list? Not many. Like, we've all made the goals, we've done the things. It's like, if you're not willing to come and look at your heart and in your life and at your emotions and in your shadow, in your closet, in your shit, if you're not willing to look in the mirror and say, okay, that's the guy who needs to step up into leadership, then this isn't it. Because again, just do this. If you heard that, we're like, I don't want to do the emotional stuff, then make a to-do list and go crush your to-do list. Or call me in 6 weeks when you haven't and you don't know why.
I love that. You're like, I'll be right here. We'll be here. We'll be here to chat. So I'm just curious, if there's one thing that you want the men, and maybe women, they could be two different things, but if there's one thing you want the men watching this to walk away from this with today, what would that be?
You're either leading or you're being led. And both are fine if they're conscious.
Yeah.
If they're not conscious, then brother, you're out, right?
Yeah.
And I'll say that first. You're either leading or being led. And this is not tyranny. This is not a dictatorship. This is actually creating a place you want to go. You want to take your partner, you want to take your family, you want to take yourself, and having the courage and the balls and the heart to go there. I will also add, leadership is a lifetime journey. I have a deep history in jiu-jitsu, and all jiu-jitsu black belts who I think are gods, like literal, like you just can't beat them.
Yeah.
And yet they all say the same thing. When you become a black belt, you start learning. Like, oh, that's brilliant and beautiful and so frustrating.
Yeah, right.
And it's the same for leadership. There is no got it done. So approach this whole thing, whether you're going to join the course, you're going to go on your own, approach this as, this is how I live my life, right? I'm going to look back on this course 5 years from now and say, man, I wish I knew what I knew now so I could have taught it then. And I'm going to look back on that course 10 years from now and 20 years from now and 30 years from now and look back on relationship and say, man, I wish I knew what I knew then.
Totally.
And really, I'd love to hit you all with, this is a courageous thing to do. This is the space, you guys. This is this unexplored space for men. I think we've actually been to Mars. Haven't we been to Mars? Right?
Have we?
Are we
I think we're trying to get there. I know that. I don't know.
We've done some cool shit out there. Right? We've built some tall buildings. We've gone to outer space. And yet this is the frontier that we're not talking about. And it's equally as terrifying, I would imagine, as it was for the first people who strapped themselves into a rocket ship in the 60s or 70s or wherever that was. And I will say I am no different. That this work is as hard and confronting and upsetting and frustrating and painful for me and scary as it is for you guys. The difference is I have 5 or 6 guys in my life who will say, you're out of integrity. Yeah. I got to go, I remember when I didn't have men like this in my life and I could just skate and do whatever I wanted.
Right.
And they'll say, and we've got your back.
Yes.
So get to work.
Yeah. So all of you guys listening, I really want you to hear in this, like there is that magic component, that support of the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the tribe, the whatever you want to call it, that coming in and doing one-on-one therapy, you just miss it. You don't get a group of men who can look you in the eyes and say, I get it. And I'm here with you. And I love you, brother. Like so many of you watching this have never had that. And so my hope is that you guys look into this and you check out Traver's work. And I'm sitting here with your book. I love this. I love this book so much. Man UNcivilized. I always tell my guys, go get this book. So many great nuggets. And then this cracks me up. If you hate men, you'll hate this book on the back. Love this. Love this. So many of my female friends are digging this book and buying it and putting it on their men's nightstands. Not sure if that's the way to do it, but whatever. It's getting in front of more men, and I love that. So
much.
Traver, tell our listeners and watchers, where can they find you? If they want to sign up, if they want to follow you, like where can they find you?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram at Traver Boehm, TraverBoehm. My website is manuncivilized.com and the course is manuncivilized.com/HHB. And just check it out or email me, shoot me a message on Instagram, ask me questions. I'm not expecting people to just go, oh, I get it all, let me dive in. I have so much content out there from podcasts to videos to you can spend a year on my Instagram page. I love this work. Yeah. I love working with men. Mm-hmm. We're such a fascinating group of people. And when I get in a room of men, Robyn, my heart rate slows down. My body relaxes. Yeah. And it didn't hit me till a couple of years ago that holy shit, I feel so good in this environment. And then watching the light bulbs the first time, like, I just didn't know, man. And I think that for the male collective is such a powerful sentence of we just didn't know. Right. But now the information's out there. Yeah. And so now it is your responsibility to say, okay, I haven't been living in this paradigm, but I now know it exists. It's time for me to step up into it. And guys, look at the world. Look at the world. When I first started this whole movement, all I saw was an epidemic of unexpressed pain in men. Yes. And I still see it. Yes. And unfortunately, what I see then is the after effect of that is us causing more pain. Yeah. So if you're in the movement of, hey, I don't want the world to be this way. It's not just to-do lists and shouting at people and I'm a leader. It's got to start here. Right. Thank you. Oh, Traver, thank you so much. Thank you. It is absolutely apparent how passionate you are about this work. Again, like I can feel you even through the screen. I can feel that reverence for this, and I can feel how sacred this is to you and to your community. And so
for those of you watching, I mean, this is just a snippet of what you're going to get, right? You know, with these calls and just being in community with other men that are, I think they're hungry. I think, like you said, there's that pain. I think there's a loneliness. I think there's a lot there, Traver, that you touch on, and that you just, from this heart space, are like, all right, let's do this. That's what I hear you saying, is let's, not you're going to do this. It's come with me. Let me walk alongside you and let's do this. And that I think is what's missing. And so I just want to thank you so much for taking the time today.
My pleasure. Truly. Thank you for having me on.